Welcome back. So as you can see, we're outside a nice cafe here. I've had to wait 30 minutes for this coffee and it cost me 80 baht. I'm in a mood for ranting, but we'll save this rant for another video. Anyway, in today's video, I want to rant about something else. So the hot topic in town at the moment, some of you might see or have already seen, is the documentary that the BBC have released with Zara McDermott and a load of influencers out here in Thailand. And I can tell you, the BBC contacted me twice. One for this documentary and one for the Cambodian-Thai conflict. They wanted a British person that was living out here near the border to speak up on it. And yeah, they sent me an email. And you know your boy, I would never sell my soul to the devil. Some of you might not have known or might not have seen, the BBC have released a documentary and it's hosted by Zara McDermott, yes, the Love Island star, and it's called Thailand, the Dark Side of Paradise. Now, to me, this is not a shock. You know, it's not a shock that they would name it something like this. As a content creator myself, you know, we use these titles to get clicks. The BBC have been doing this years before content creation was a thing. You know, they've set out the blueprint. You know what I mean? So the issue that I have with this documentary is not the title that they titled it, because I fully expected this title, you know, Thailand, the Dark Side of Paradise. It's dramatic. BBC have been selling drama for years, long before content creation, long before our little creators and influencers were around. The BBC have been doing this mainstream for many, many years. They know it best. They set out the blueprint for everyone. So I don't have that issue. I expected that. So everyone else should have, but they didn't. The issue that I had with this documentary is that the BBC, they have a wide reach, very, very wide reach. So they have a whole nation watching them. And not just national reach, but also worldwide reach. It portrays Thailand in a bad light. It hits on all the negative aspects of Thailand, when in reality, this couldn't be further from reality here. Don't get me wrong, Thailand is not perfect. Far from perfect, in fact. I know, look at this beautiful scenery. It looks perfect. But don't get me wrong, you know, there is the dark side of Thailand, but in reality, it's minuscule. And you will only see it if you go looking for it, or if you're in these places. You know, this documentary, they only really went to touristy places where you expect high issues, you know, high probability of there being an issue. So they went to Phuket, Pattaya, they went to the full moon party. So what do you expect? So I was looking at this documentary and I'm thinking, this is an evergreen documentary, you know, this means it's gonna be out there now, it's gonna be out forever. And because the BBC have hosted it, a lot of people, millions and millions of people will see this documentary and will have an opinion on Thailand afterwards. But I was just thinking, like, The Hangover, the movie, you know, when that came out and it showed Bangkok, you know, all the lady boys and crazy parties, you couldn't get further away from the truth than that, you know. Don't get me wrong, if you want a night out like that, it's a possibility, you know. You can have a wild night out in Bangkok. Of course you can. You can have a wild night out in Wigan, in Manchester, in London. Of course you can. You could wake up next to a goose in Manchester if you wanted to. How wild do you want your night out, you know? But that's not what Bangkok is, you know. Bangkok is one of the great metropolis of this world. It's a great city. It has everything for everyone. For kids, for families, for young travelers, whatever you are, however old you are, it has everything for you. A lot of people watch The Hangover and they think, oh, Bangkok is this wild place. I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna end up with a tattoo, waking up next to some ladyboy or whatever, you know? And this is exactly the same effect that this documentary that Zara McDermott and a load of other influencers have been a part of, this is what it's gonna portray to a lot of people. So the BBC have contacted me twice. One for this documentary and one for the Thailand-Cambodian border conflict. And twice I declined them. And I'll tell you why I declined them. So this is the BBC, guys. This is a corporation that will charge me to watch my own interview. And if I don't, I'm a criminal. Why would I want to work with this corporation? I don't want to bash anyone that was on this documentary because, you know, you might have been swayed by them, by the email, because quite frankly, they write a nice email. You know, they portray that it's going to be, you know, a documentary about people living in Thailand and all this. But you should know beforehand, this is the BBC. They've been doing this for years. They've set out the blueprint for everyone. They sell drama for a living. Don't get me wrong, when the emails come through, it's really tempting because at the end of the day, this is a massive, massive corporation with huge reach. You know, it could get out there to millions of people and it could really push us as a channel, Native Farang, to that next level. As you know, we're only, you know, a small channel in here on this platform of YouTube. So I thought to myself, you know, we could give ourselves a little boost. We could get out there, get our name out there a bit more. But I'm the biggest advocate for Thailand, so I would never say anything bad about the country. Don't get me wrong, like I say, there are bad parts. Like in any country, you know, Thailand has its own problems and its deep-rooted problems. In the grand scheme of things, it's minute, it's minuscule. But the BBC, I knew, wouldn't portray it like that. That's why I would never work with a corporation like the BBC, you know. And for anyone that's British and is a content creator, if they ever come to you, just think. Just sit down and think, you know, this is the BBC. We are content creators. What we do is exactly what the BBC does. We use clickbait titles, clickbait thumbnails for clicks. And that's what they do. They need viewers. They need clicks. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So for you to think that they would come here and be nicey and portray it perfect, that was never going to happen. Being on the documentary would have been nice. Millions of people would have probably seen it. And our channel might have got a little boost, you know? So this documentary, you know, they aim to ask people who live in Thailand. And when I watched the documentary, half the people that they interviewed, they don't live in Thailand, you know what I mean? They're on the backpacking route. And this one fella, she met him about 3 times. She met him in Pattaya, she met him at the full moon party, and then at Phuket. I'm like, this bloke was just on the backpacker route. You don't even live in Thailand. What does he know about Thailand? You know, if you're going to interview anyone, interview the people that actually live out here and you know, have families, have lives out here. But they won't do that because the people who live out here, they live out here for a reason. You know what I mean? It's not because of the dark side of Thailand. It's for the good side, you know, because the good far outweighs the bad. That's why we all live out here. And ask all these people, would they ever move back? Would they move back? If they had a choice to live in England now or to live in Thailand, ask them that. Where would they rather live? And if the BBC are watching this, hit your boy up, you know, one more time. 3rd time's the charm, as they say. But anyway, if you really want to do a true documentary and really document how people feel about these places, have a comparison between England, because obviously the BBC is based in the UK. So if people have that comparison, then they can compare it. So have people from a neutral country, say New Zealand or whatever, have them live in England for a month and then have them live in Thailand for a month. Then afterwards, go and ask them, where do you feel safest? Where are you happiest? Where's more fun? Ask them all these questions that you want to ask. And then you'll get a true reflection of what it's really like, you know? I just want to give you a little story before I end this video, rant, whatever you class this as. Because it got me a little bit heated, you know, because I have strong opinions and I'm not scared to say them. So I lived in England, I lived in Wigan for 4 years. Was it 4 or 5? Maybe 5. But I'll tell you now, I had 2 vans and both times, both vans got stolen on the drive. And one of the time, I was in the house. I was sleeping upstairs. They come in, broke down the door and got the key, got the van, drove off. And then later we filed a police report and the police found it in a nearby town, burned down. And I'll tell you now, living in Thailand, I've never had that issue. I've never had no issue, not even close to that. Not even close. I've left the key in the saleng, I've left the key in the car. The only thing that I've had is I've left the phone. I dropped my phone on the BTS one time in Bangkok. And you would think, Bangkok, so many people there, millions of people, the phone's gone. It's well and truly gone. But no, the lady who found it managed to give it to me back. So that's the experience, you know. I can only give you real life experience and my true opinions and how things happen over here. And yeah, you do your own research and you make up your own mind. That's what I encourage everyone to do. And there's a lack of that nowadays. And people would watch the documentary and, you know, and see Thailand as it's portrayed in the documentary. That's the issue. That's why it riles me up so much. So please, if you do see the documentary, just think, you know, use your mind for once. Think to yourself, is it really like that? Why would people want to live here? Why would they never want to move back? Why are so many people out here and wanting to come on holiday here? Why? You know, I read all these stories about Thailand's dropping tourism. We're still one of the most visited tourist destinations in the world. You understand that? You know what I mean? We're not washed. It's not dangerous. People are just trying to travel elsewhere. You know, Thailand has spoiled people for far too many years. People come here as a gateway to Asia. You know, we make it comfortable for everyone. Everyone feels nice and comfortable. They feel happy. They feel relaxed here. They feel safe. And now they want to venture on. They want to see Malaysia. They want to see Cambodia. They want to see Vietnam. Because Thailand has made them feel that way. You know, that it's a gateway. It's like a gateway drug. And yeah, it's spoiled too many people for far too long. And people are starting to take it for granted. And they forget what Thailand is, you know. How many places in the world can you go to nice cafes, affordable places, affordable hotels, you know, all these things to do and see, everything for everyone. People are nice, the food is good. Again, I just want to say, you know, I don't want to bash anyone that was on the documentary because I seen the email, I know what it's like, you know, you think that they're going to come here and do it justice and you think what you say is going to be in the documentary, but don't think that I'm bashing you. Do your thing, you know. It's good exposure for a lot of people. But for us, for me especially, I would never associate myself with something like that. So yeah, that's my take on the BBC and the documentary out here.